This is not going well. I'm Elaini.
And I'm KJ.
And we're engaged. Do you want to start or do you want me to start? You're on the struggle bus here.
This is our warm-up.
This is our warm-up for the camera. I saw this handsome man at a conference and I was like, oh, he's cute.
I heard someone come up behind me and say, you have a really nice sense of style. And I turned around and this lovely lady was standing there. I found out she was from Portland, Oregon. I'm from South Carolina.
The last day of the conference, I saw him walking out with his coworker. They were quite a bit ahead of me. I just said, Lord, if you want me to talk to KJ again, I'm not gonna run after him, so you have to make them stop. They stopped and I was like, oh, I went up to him and his coworker. I actually really hit it off with her and started ignoring KJ.
Ironically enough, it was during that conversation as I was listening to Elaini talk to my coworker that I was just struck. I mean, it was like a light switch flip. And just hearing her heart for the Lord and how thoughtful she was and just how much she cared, I found it all very attractive. I definitely left that interaction like, wow, I'm super interested. But that was also the end of the conference. Everyone was leaving.
I had asked for his coworker's phone number. She wrote his full name. I stalked him on Instagram, messaged him. We started messaging back and forth. That turned into a phone call. Those turned into more phone calls. It was during a 7-hour conversation.
I told her that I really liked her.
I said that I really liked him too. So then the next day, I said, let's date. Let's take a leap of faith. We started on distance dating on December 4th. He moved out here in July, left his friends and family. We got engaged on September 24th. We're getting married 2023. It's kind of been a whirlwind and it feels really surreal, but really good and exciting and just such a gift from God. Should we jump into some of these questions?
Yeah, let's jump into some questions.
Do you want to draw one first or do you want me to?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I'm chronically ill and want very much to get married someday, but I'm feeling discouraged that I might not ever find my person. Any advice or thoughts from either of you?
It's a great question. First of all, it's such a beautiful desire. I'm chronically ill as well. I really wanted to get married and I felt discouraged that I might not find a person. I'm 34 as of right now, so I've waited some time. So that's a very valid thing to feel. Hope is really powerful. It can be a scary thing, but it is worth still hoping for your dreams and desires. Instead of trying to squash that hope, feed that hope. Become the type of person that you feel like would attract your ideal person. You become that person. For me, one of the ways that I actively chose to thrive was by thinking about all the things I'd miss if my season did change. And now that we're engaged, and as wonderful and amazing as it is, there are things I'm realizing I'm gonna miss of my single life. Find the things that you love to do and do more of those. Just get out, meet more people. I know that that can be sometimes hard with chronic illness, but try online dating if you haven't. And if you're a person of faith, pray about it. That's really, I think, was my anchor, to keep praying and feeding life into my dreams. And just because you're chronically ill does not discredit you from finding love or an amazing person. It's such a gift and you're gonna respect that person even more because of them being willing to come on the journey with you. Something that Anna told me a long time ago and it really stuck with me. You come with chronic illness, but your person's gonna come with stuff too. Don't feel like you're the only one coming with baggage, so to speak. Your person's gonna have their challenges too. It's a partnership and nobody's perfect. And that was comforting to me. We all have stuff, so don't feel like I'm the only one with stuff.
It's been a journey of learning about her chronic illness. And it's come with challenges, of course, but it's who she is as a person that I love.
If there is a person for you, you're not gonna be able to miss them. Your story's in motion. Should we answer another one?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh. How are you balancing the finances of planning a wedding, planning for a marriage, and knowing that chronic illness can be very expensive?
It's a great question.
Do you have answers?
It's definitely a lot to balance. It's definitely helpful to have conversations early on, being on the same page about the financial situations you both bring to the table, getting on the same page about what each of your expectations are as far as kind of how money is spent. I know it's been helpful for us because we're both savers, we both use a budget. That helps a lot. And then I think understanding what you both value and kind of how you want to invest in the things you value is really important. important. Even like with the wedding of like, what's the most important things that we do want to put money towards? And having those conversations, being really transparent, understanding that there's give and take in all of life, and that's okay. We're still learning as well, and kind of right in the midst of that right now.
We're wanting to put more money into our marriage, i.e. a place to live, versus our wedding a little bit more. Know what you value and then put it towards that.
Yeah.
And don't worry about what other people put their money towards. Try not to compare.
Yes. A lot of people come into a relationship hoping that it will make them whole or that their partner will complete them. What's your take on this? Do you feel like your fiance completes you? Good question.
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
For me, again, with my faith, I have always just believed that Jesus is the one that makes me whole. He sets my identity, and to expect another person to make me whole is going to put so much pressure on that person, and they were never intended to have that pressure. They would end up frustrated. I would end up frustrated. So I definitely have not come into this thinking that KJ will complete me. And as much as he compliments me and we're compatible and it's this amazing partnership, I don't feel like you complete me, because Jesus completes me and I know who I am in the Lord.
Yeah, and we definitely share that same belief. The only thing I would add, just in regard to dating and relationships, you're not ready to date until you're content single. And so for me, like, that contentment is a contentment in Jesus and learning how to find my identity fully in him. I was not ever leaning on Elaini to make me whole. That brings a lot of freedom to the relationship as well, and you don't put unnecessary strain and burden on your partner that they were never meant to carry. It makes the relationship a lot healthier when you do release them from that expectation that they're there to make you whole.
This person is not going to fulfill all your dreams and desires. And if they are at the moment, that's great, but I don't know how you could sustain that.
Right. I think at some point it gets away.
Ooh, are there any pros, upsides to being in a relationship with chronic illness?
What would you say, babe?
It's obviously not something you wish or hope for, to have chronic illness. But one of the beautiful things is I have gotten to see KJ love me in sickness. When you say vows, it's like it's in sickness and in health. And a lot of people make that vow in health, not expecting or thinking down the road there could be health issues. And we know what it looks like to partner together in hard stuff. I've seen him be so supportive, which again, that makes me respect him more, because he's walking hard things with me and he's right there with me. He's gonna be kind and he's gonna be caring. So I don't have to wonder down the road if something happens, would this person care for me? I think that's a really beautiful gift. You know that this person isn't afraid of the hard stuff, and life has hard stuff. I don't want somebody to just sit in a castle with me, like all the fairy tales. I want somebody that can fight dragons with me. And I know KJ can fight dragons with me, metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, I think for me, it's taught me a deeper level of what it looks like to sacrificially love somebody, to be there for them, not just when things are great and magical, but also when it's hard. It's super humbling too, because I think it's made me realize how often I can take for granted my health. I definitely view it as a privilege to come alongside you and support you, and we're doing this together. You do that for me in so many ways as well.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
It's given me another picture of Jesus and how he loves us. That's such a gift too.
KJ, this one's for me. What is it like to be in a relationship with someone who is chronically ill? Answer honestly.
Yes.
I feel like that's a good segue from the last question. I mean, honestly, it's been really hard. It's hard for me to see Elaini in pain. I think navigating that emotionally has been challenging. It's also tested my faith in a way as well too. There's the longing and wanting her to be healed. But at the same time, there's so much joy and just so many things I love about being able to do life with Elaini. And so it's been really sweet as well. I wouldn't trade it up for anything. That's why I asked her to marry me, so we can do it for life. But I mean, it's lots of good. There's the hard thrown in as well. Oh dear.
Fun one. Who made the first move and who went in for the kiss? I made the first move as far as saying hi. First couple moves.
2, 3.
Yeah. And then I was like, he's gonna have to pursue me. And he did.
I went for the first kiss.
You went in for the first kiss.
We're even.
Oh.
Which of you is more stubborn? This is one of those times where some wise person in your head goes, answer wisely. Obviously we're both stubborn because we can't answer the question.
A kinder term is we have strong wills.
Learning humility.
We're both a work in progress.
Yeah.
Ooh, this one's for
Another
you.
one for me.
KJ, how do you feel about stepping into the role of Elaini's caretaker and partnering with her as she navigates her health?
That's a good question. There's just a lot of unknown. Honestly, I think that's scary at times. There's the what ifs. What if it gets worse? Just having to be ready and like having some level of expectation, like I need to be ready. But also, I feel really confident and good about stepping into marriage with her. I'm at peace, I think would be the best way to describe it. God is with us, and like he's the one leading our relationship and the one who sustains us no matter what happens. I think that's where a lot of the confidence comes in. Definitely not confidence in myself, because a lot of it's new, but confidence in a God who can do all things and loves us and cares for us even better than we can do that for each other. Oh, this is another one for me.
Yeah.
The fans like me.
The fans. KJ, has Elaini's illness changed or challenged your faith in any way?
Absolutely, yes. It has been challenging to just kind of wrestle with what I believe and know to be true about God's character and his ability to like hold that up in one hand, and then the other hold out like the actual experience of watching Elaini struggle with chronic illness, holding both those things up together. It's been challenging, but I think it's also deepened my dependence upon the Lord and has really brought me to my knees more in prayer. I read, even in the Bible, lots of the stories about Jesus healing in a different perspective now. Learning to love Elaini well has, like, I think shown me just a different aspect of the depth of God's own character and love and the way he moves towards us in the really, really hard stuff. And I think just seeking to like model that, like have his own heart be my heart towards Elaini. It's been refining for me in a lot of ways. My view of God has grown and expanded, if anything.
I'm gonna read it. What would you both say are some of the most important character traits to look for in someone who will be my partner and spouse, especially from a chronic illness perspective? Somebody that has a strong faith they can rely on when things are tough and challenging, servant-hearted, kind and thoughtful, and growth-minded.
Yeah.
Also, if they're funny, there are gonna be a lot of tears, so you want somebody that makes you laugh. Just an added bonus.
When do you know if you're ready to start dating? I'm in a place where I'm content and kind of really understand who I am. And again, a lot of that goes back to looking to the Lord, him being where I find purpose, meaning, fulfillment, all those things.
Ask yourself the question, am I ready to give more than I get? Partnership isn't 50-50, it's 100% in two healthy people. So are you ready to give? And you have something to offer as a person with chronic illness. You have resilience, you have had to learn patience in a new way. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think chronic illness develops in you character-wise, so you have a lot to offer, but are you ready to give, or are you just looking for what you can get?
What were some of your early conversations about Elaini's health and illness like? It was definitely one of the phone calls early on before we were officially dating. It was pretty vague. You didn't go into a lot of specifics. I knew that she had chronic illness, which actually came as a surprise to me, because after having met you and like having talked with you, like I just would have never thought, because Elaini is just so joyful, so radiant.
I think I had more expressed that I had chronic illness and how it had affected my life versus going into details. And then your first trip out, I was pretty upfront of like, how do you feel about me having chronic illness? It's a thing. You were like, I don't just see you as a bunch of health problems. That was like, whoa, he's such a good guy. So I remember that conversation being pretty poignant.
We had another one that same trip. I still remember where we were.
I do too. He hadn't actually asked a lot about my chronic illness. I then wasn't sure. Does he know that I really have chronic illness? It actually is serious. Does he not want to know? We were really new in the relationship. I just kind of said, you haven't really asked me a lot about my chronic illness, and I'm curious to know if you're interested in hearing more. And you were like, yes, I am. I just wanted you to be able to have the space you needed to share when you wanted to share that. So that was really gracious of him. And that was a communication thing for us, because I'm over here like, does he not care? Does he just think it's not that serious? Maybe he's just trying to give me space. I didn't know. So I just brought it up. For you as the chronically ill person, go at whatever speed you feel comfortable and safe at. And if they ask you and you don't feel safe yet, you don't have to tell them. You can just say, I'm not ready for that conversation. And I think for somebody that's not chronically ill, if you're wondering, ask really open-ended questions. I would even say, like, how would you feel about me asking you questions about your chronic illness? Is that something you care to share about now, or is that something you'd rather wait to share? Put the power in their court.
KJ, how do you feel to be on the receiving end of that information? This was like multiple conversations over time, so it didn't feel like it was all being kind of dumped all at once. It worked out.
Elaini, how are you managing your chronic illness through this wedding planning season? It's been a little rough, if I'm being honest. I'm still trying to navigate it, really. So I'm trying to stick to my routines, eat well, sleep well, and then enlisting help. I started a text thread with 3 other women who have chronic illness and have been married for a while. So I'm also asking them their advice. So if you know some people or even can find some people within the People Hope community, I really take advantage of that. Whether that's in your dating season, engagement, or marriage, try to find somebody else that would be willing to chat with you and just to share life. Or just, yep, I'm in it too and I have no idea. Then you feel less alone.
KJ, what is one piece of advice you give to a man who's starting to date a chronically ill woman? What a great question.
I want to hear this one too.
One piece of advice. Oh man, my advice would be seek to understand as much as possible, even when it's hard. There will be a gap in experience. There are ways in which Elaini experiences the world differently. And, I think this is for lots of reasons too. We experience the world differently from one another, but I think not assuming and learning to listen well and really understand where she's coming from and how her chronic illness affects her. That's really helpful for Elaini too, to know that I want to understand, verbalizing how I'm feeling, but also verbalizing my support and affirming that is really important. As well. You will learn a lot, and that's a good thing.
Oh, who's the first to say I'm sorry? Oh, I think me.
Was it you? I honestly don't remember.
I don't either. Was it me?
I have no idea.
Maybe you.
We both said I'm sorry.
Yeah, what would it have been over?
I can't remember, actually. I just honestly can't remember.
I can't either.
It was probably Elaini.
We forgive and forget. What was your first impression of the other person? I mean, I just thought he was really attractive, let's be honest. I think actually I saw how he was interacting with other people, and that was one of the first things that drew me to you, because I could tell he was people oriented just by his posture towards those around him.
First impressions, she's really cute. She really cares deeply for people. I could tell that you were walking closely with Jesus. First impressions.
They were good.
They were good. Has Elaini's chronic illness impacted your early conversations about your future family or planning for children?
Short answer, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a consideration.
I would say we're on the same page.
Right.
Those are conversations we had early on. I needed to know where he was at with his desires for a family, whether that was for a family or not. If so, how many, and how, adoption and bio kids, all of those things. So we had that conversation, and I would encourage you, if you're in a relationship, to do so, regardless of your health status. Elaini, do you ever struggle with guilt or feeling like a burden in your relationship because of your chronic illness? If so, how do you deal with that? Short answer, yes. I definitely struggle with that. I have grief over that because here's this amazing person and I don't want to mess up your life. How do I deal with that? Back to my faith. The Bible says this momentary suffering is producing for you an eternal weight of glory. And so then I remember we're being refined. Refining is good. It's pulling out our truest selves of who we really are, the good things and the things we need to confront and grow in. And then just remembering I'm not a burden to Christ, who loves me where I'm at and how I am. I think it goes back to then not putting my identity on him. So really keeping my identity in Christ. Also being okay, he's a grown adult and he is making this choice. He wants to do this. Accepting that can be hard sometimes because it's mind-blowing, right? But it's so beautiful. Ooh, what are some of your best flare day date ideas? I would say whatever makes you feel the best on a flare day, do that. Do all the happy things. There was one day I was I just really need a shake. Can we go get a vegan shake? And that made me feel better. What are your biggest pieces of advice for chronically ill folks who are currently engaged?
I think being flexible.
Just gonna
so
say
huge.
something along those lines.
Yeah, just be ready to be flexible. I mean, have a plan, but be flexible because
you'll be happy.
Stuff will come up. Seriously, that's just life. It will come up. You'll have all this stuff you want to get done, and then some days, like you said, you had a flare up, and it's we're not gonna wedding plan today because your health's more important, and we're gonna take care of you. So I think just really managing your expectations. Don't lose sight of why you got engaged in the first place. In the midst of the planning.
Do you want to tell them the phrase?
I saw that going differently in my mind. Yeah, that will become your anthem.
Flexibility. That is such a good one, babe. Our unity is more important and my health and navigating that than the wedding.
The spreadsheet will be there tomorrow.
Yeah, flexibility. I'm chronically ill and engaged to a healthy fiance. What are some important conversations we should have as they relate to marriage and chronic illness. Have all the hot topic conversations you can. Talk about your health. Be so honest about what that actually means to live with that person, what it's gonna look like. Talk about finances. We had that conversation really early on. I was like, I'm a little bit expensive sometimes. And you were like, okay. There's not a lot you can do about that. If you need it, you need it. Talk about finances and how your chronic illness affects that, whether that's health insurance. We haven't had this conversation, but probably would be good to know like what doctors to call, what medical things. Talk about sex, how that'll affect you guys if you feel like your health issues are gonna potentially be challenging there. Talk about kids. How is your family gonna respond? All of those things.
Which of you is a better dancer? Prove it. Wow.
I don't have music.
There's no music. We might knock the camera over in
Like
this
chair
space.
dance.
I'm the better dancer.
I don't think so. Actually, he probably is. He's the better dancer. Whenever we have conflict and we resolve it afterwards, we put on some fun, upbeat music, and we have to dance it out together. And I actually just usually end up laughing.
It's true.
It's really true. He's dancing, and I'm just like, so he's probably the better dancer when you sing.
Yeah, he does end up laughing.
Forever, I'm already sure. I've never been so sure that you're my kind of forever. Don't include that.
Which of you is the messiest?
Me. Which of you is the most emotional? Oh my goodness. We actually did that. Thanks for asking great questions. Thanks for letting us share and listening to our story.
Yeah.
And we've been so supported by the People Hope community.
Awesome.
Thanks so much. Okay.
All right.
Took us so long to set up. You're on the struggle bus here. I can't. Okay. Okay. This is not going well.